Electricman 2, The Tournament of Voltagen. It's one of the most played Flash games of all time. There's a good chance that you've played it before. On the surface, the game doesn't seem like it lends itself well to speedrunning, but over the years, runners have been gradually able to lower the time it takes to beat the game. The question is, how did we get to the point of trying to beat the entire game in under 10 minutes? Who were the runners that broke through, and how did they do it? This is the world record history of Electricman speedruns. Electricman 2 was first released in 2006 on the website Albino Black Sheep, a website made to share digital media with Adobe Flash Player. The game's creator, Damien Clark, released the game there under the name Roboman. In 2007, the game became playable on a variety of different websites like Newgrounds and addictinggames.com. The creator of the game, Damien Clark, is probably most known from Electricman 2, but has also made the popular Flash game Block Source the same year. Now you might be wondering why the game is called Electricman 2. Does that mean that there is an Electricman 1? Well, on the Electricman wiki it says that Damien Clark has stated in an email interview that the first Electricman was more of a platformer that he never released. You'd move from screen to screen, kind of like that old PSX game Abe's Odyssey. I also thought it'd be funny to release a game that sounds like a sequel and have a bunch of people on the internet potentially trying to find the original. Bit of a lame joke to myself. And a couple of months ago he also confirmed this in a comment he left under this video, stating that yes, there was no Electricman 1. Anyway, since Electricman 1 doesn't exist and because Electricman 2, The Tournament of Voltagen, is too long to keep saying, I'll just refer to the game as Electricman from now on. The first Electricman speedrun was probably done just for fun by someone that wasn't really recording or posting it anywhere. Because to be honest, no one was actually trying to speedrun this game before about 2017. It was mostly people trying to beat the pro mode in the game. But back in the late 2000s, there was still some people uploading their gameplay of Electricman. So let's take a look at this amazing footage from 2009. Truly amazing. Now let's skip forward in time to about 8 years later. More specifically, March 1st, 2017. This is the exact date the game got added as a leaderboard on speedrun.com. And it didn't take long for a run to appear on the leaderboards. Because only a week later, on the 8th of March, we would see the first all-round glitchless run in Electricman. It was a time of 13 minutes and 24 seconds by a user called Ricky. Wait a minute. So yeah, Ricky, or better known to some of you as the Rixer, did the first Electricman speedrun. In the current day, he's a pretty successful YouTuber who has made a bunch of videos about speedrunning. And to this day, his speedrun time still holds up pretty well. So let's take a look at his first run to get an understanding of how the game works as a speedrun. The first thing you notice after starting a new game is the player creation menu. Here we can enter a name, choose from one of the 6 colors for our character, and most importantly, we can choose a skill level. There are 3 skill levels in Electricman: Easy, Normal and Pro. Between skill levels there is a difference in the aggressiveness of the enemy's AI, but the main increase in difficulty is the higher number of enemies in higher skill levels. Looking at the very first fight in the game against the replicants, it has 1 enemy in Easy, 2 in Normal and 3 in Pro. In every fight there's an increase of 1 enemy between difficulties. So in theory, if you assume a perfect scenario in which the enemies always line up correctly and you perfectly hit them all at the same time, the perfect run in each skill level would take exactly the same amount of time. But realistically speaking, Normal takes more time than Easy and Pro takes more time than both. This is also noticeable by the difference in times between top runs, which have always differed around a minute from each other between difficulties. So the preferred difficulty to beat the game as fast as possible without glitches is Easy. Ricky starts his run by skipping the tutorial and joining the first fight as fast as possible. He then enters the first round of the tournament. The game is made up of 4 rounds with 4 fights each, then a semi-final with 2 fights, and lastly the championship fight. In each round you can freely choose which fight you want to do first, but you have to finish all the fights in a round to progress to the next one. Round 1 consists of the Replicants, the Frozen, Syrian Guard and the Toxic 10. In the first round the enemy count is still pretty low, but increases in later rounds. The only notable difference in these first 4 fights is the variable HP being lower on the Replicants and the Frozen than the Syrian Guard and Toxic 10. This means that the range of health these enemies have is slightly lower. How much health the enemies have when you enter a fight will always be in a certain range, but where in that range is entirely luck based. Besides this slight variance, there isn't much of a notable difference in the different types of enemies here. All enemies have the same speed and need as many hits to get knocked down. So let me quickly explain how enemy knockdowns work. Every fight in each difficulty features one enemy that usually has more health than the other regular enemies, and also takes more hits to get knocked down. We call this enemy an elite enemy. The elite enemy takes a full A press punch attack and can then take one more kick attack before getting knocked down, while regular enemies get knocked down by a singular A press. Optimally, we would like for the enemy to take as much damage as possible before getting knocked to the ground, since it takes time for them to get back up again. When Ricky enters the first battle against the replicants, we can already see him kind of making use of this. He tries to corner the enemy immediately with an A press punch, and he then uses a running D attack, which is one of the many charge moves in the game. In Electricman, there's 3 normal attacks: the A key, which is a punch, the S key, which is a kick, and pressing or holding the D key makes you grab a single enemy and doing a knee kick. Also, using the punch or kick while surrounded makes your character do a split kick or punch, making it easier to fight yourself out of swarms of enemies. Then there's a couple of charged attacks that you can use, but they drain 1 bar of your battery. You start out with 3 bars of the battery and slowly gain it back over time after usage. The charge moves are a slow-mo punch with Q, slow-mo kick with W, and a slow-mo grab and throw with E. You can also do different types of charge moves if you're running while doing them, like we saw with the running D grab just now. The other ones are a slow-mo kick combo when running and pressing W, and the slow-mo throwing punch while running and pressing E. These charged attacks can deal a lot of damage, but have the downside of taking a long time to perform, or only being able to hit one enemy at a time. Ricky uses the running D grab, which deals a lot of damage, but it takes a while for the enemy to fall back down to the ground. He also spams the punch attack for most of the fights in his run. This strategy is pretty effective, since you're able to deal a lot of damage to multiple enemies at once. Besides that, it's a regular attack, which makes it faster to use than charge attacks. A big downside to his strategy is that if you punch an elite enemy, it doesn't get knocked down to the ground, causing Ricky to get knocked down to the ground himself a lot. Entering round 2, first we have to fight the Doerksen, which are basically just tanks, with all regular Doerksen taking as many hits per knockdown as the elite enemies. They have one of the highest HP ranges in the game and will sometimes move very slowly. The next fight is against the Pyromaniacs, who are standard enemies in HP and knockdown hits, but move at a faster speed and can dodge kicks. These faster enemies can be a real problem if you accidentally move through them whilst they come sprinting at you, causing your attack to miss them entirely. We then have a rematch against the replicants with 4 enemies instead of just 1, and lastly the Plague, who take more hits to get knocked down, and they're also able to dodge attacks. In round 3 we have a rematch against the Syrian Guard, Toxic 10 and the Frozen. All these fights just have an increased number of enemies to fight. The one new fight in round 3 is the fight against the Blind, which are similar to regular enemies but almost always dodge kick attacks. Round 4 has a rematch against the Plague, Pyromaniacs and the Doerksen. There's also a fight against the Tech Team. Tech Team members have a lot of HP, they can also dodge some kicks, and on top of that they have a healing ability, arguably making them the hardest enemies in the game. In the semi-finals you face off against the Blind and Tech Team again, but of course with a higher number of enemies this time. And finally we have the championship fight against Death and his 7 minions. Death itself has a big health bar, can dodge kicks and is also able to heal, while his minions are regular enemies with a low health bar. Due to the sheer amount of them, they can quickly overwhelm you, while the boss heals himself in the corner. With all that out of the way, let's analyze Ricky's run further. Overall, his run was pretty solid. He didn't use any fancy combos and mostly just used the punch attack, but he had a clear strategy in mind: keep the enemies lined up and together to hit them at the same time. Another thing to note is that the enemies have a 50-50 chance of spawning on either side of the map, so Ricky started each fight on one of the sides of the screen. This helps with getting in some early damage and also keeps the enemies in front of you so they don't split up. After submitting the run, Ricky himself stated that a time of 12 minutes was possible with some better lineups. And looking at his splits in the video, he actually got an improvement from his first PB that wasn't recorded by more than a minute. And it seemed that he was satisfied with the time he got.
Let's go, dude.
Let's go, dude.
Let's go. That was a good run. I actually nailed the ending too. Like, I golded both of the semi-finalists. I went off right here. Yeah, that was sick. That was sick.
Popped off that run.
13-19. I'm submitting that.
And because of that, this was the first and last time we ever saw Ricky speedrun this game. So, with the time of 13:24 standing on top of the leaderboard with basically no competition, where do we go from here? Well, for the next couple of months there wasn't any movement on the leaderboards, and in fact, throughout the entire rest of 2017 and 2018, nobody even tried to challenge Ricky's time. It seemed that the game would just fade away into the background and go unnoticed by speedrunners. But of course, we know that this is not what happened, otherwise I wouldn't be making this video. And after a 2-year period with no records, we end up in 2019, where we saw a new runner appear on the top of the leaderboards. This runner's name was Daedalus. Daedalus was already well acquainted with speedrunning flash games like Vex and The Last Stand. However, he mainly gravitated towards Electricman speedruns because he felt like doing speedruns of the game didn't ruin the game. After speedrunning those other games full of game-breaking glitches and skips, it felt like he wasn't playing the game the way it was intended. But with Electricman this wasn't the case. It's just fighting your way through every round just as intended. On March 31st, 2019, Daedalus got a time of 13 minutes and 16 seconds, only beating Ricky's record by 8 seconds. Looking at the run, from the first fight, Daedalus was already using a different strategy than Ricky. Instead of just spamming the punch attack, he did a combo by punching them and then going straight into a kick, which would mean more damage per knockdown on elite enemies. He also utilized the split kick to get out of swarms of enemies without getting knocked to the ground at some points during the run. Daedalus also mentioned the cartwheel move in his post-commentary and debates its usefulness.
So, a lot of mistakes I made is, for instance, cartwheeling. I cartwheel and it's good because you can move around without getting hurt, but the thing is, that also basically means that if you move too far, you can get in between enemies and just get beaten a lot. So it's like, do you want to get around faster without taking damage while risking, getting hit? Or would you rather just walk, be slow, but at least be safe?
His strategy was far from perfect, but he was making a great effort to find the best moves to use. Completing round 1, Daedalus was already ahead of Ricky by 22 seconds, but he bled some time in round 3. His lead in round 4 was around 10 seconds, and going into the semi-finals and championship, the times were almost identical to Ricky's run. This early lead was already an indicator of how the record could be improved in the future. Daedalus' strategy worked more consistently than Ricky's and was, in most cases, faster. The problem with this strategy became clear in the first fight against the Plague, where the enemies don't get knocked down by just a punch and can also dodge the kick he did after. When 2 or more enemies are in range of a standing kick, your character performs a low kick, which the enemies can't dodge. However, the problem arises when attacking only one enemy at a time. In that case, you can only perform a regular standing kick, which some enemies basically always dodge. Besides just a bit of bad luck, he also lost some time with some poorer execution in fights like the tag team fight, which he also comments on in his post-commentary.
I don't know, I just stood there just dying, just getting hit. As you can see, I'm not doing such a good job of that, and I lost a lot of time here actually. This wasn't my gold split. So, as you can see, one's down, but one still has a crap ton of health. And so I'm losing time right now, and I still have almost half an enemy to deal with.
Even with all these obviously improvable parts of the run, this was still a record, and Daedalus was far from finished.
I'm really happy with this run. I'm going to go for sub 13, maybe sub 12 if I get better time. As you can see, these next couple of goals will turn into low 12s to mid to low 11s. But I may go for insane world record or something.
Dude, you're not real.
Saved in 25.5 seconds. Now this will be harder to beat. This is actually a really good time. I'm actually quite proud of it.
12:43. A 33-second improvement from the previous record. With such a big jump in the record, you might think that Daedalus used a completely new strategy, but no, he just played better with his established strategy and just got luckier. An improvement like this was something that we're gonna continue to see in the future. Daedalus mostly just made less mistakes and saved a bit of time on every round. Over the course of a 30-minute run, that adds up. The time save mostly came from stopping the enemies from splitting up more and then getting them stuck in the corner more often. And Daedalus himself had this to say about the run in the description. Easy, not so much anymore. Sub 12 is possible. Got sub 13, did my part. And he was right, there was no need for him to play anymore. He broke a minute barrier, was more than 40 seconds ahead of second place, with nobody really trying to beat his time. So that's exactly what he did, he stopped playing. And with Daedalus holding every record on the leaderboard, there wasn't any improvement again for a couple of months. But just 6 months later, he came back. On October 5th, 2019, Daedalus started a run of Electricman 100%, where you need to beat the game on every difficulty in a row. It was a concept for a new leaderboard category that he came up with himself. He probably thought of it because he was already on top of every other leaderboard with no real competition. He'd been doing some runs to see if it was a good concept to be added to the leaderboard. And on his third try of the 100% category, he beat his previous record in easy mode by 8 seconds, with a time of 12 minutes and 35 seconds. It might seem like a small improvement, but this run shaped the main strategy in Electricman for the coming years. What used to be just punching and then kicking enemies now turned into a punch into a slow-mo kick, while previously being avoided because they seemed too slow to be faster than the regular attacks. A charged move had now turned into a viable strategy. The slow-mo kick had multiple upsides to it, making it worthwhile to use. Firstly, it's not as slow as some of the other attacks, with it only taking about a second to perform. Secondly, it can hit multiple enemies at once, making it viable in almost every scenario. And lastly, doing the move makes the elite enemy hit a wall, dealing even more damage and lining them up favorably for the next attack. So even with worse luck and execution, the run would probably be better. This run might have just been a small time improvement from the previous record, but it showed massive potential for the future of this game. So what did Daedalus do? Well, he took a break again, and so the 2020 started and COVID hit the world. Most people around the world had to stay inside, and as a result, a lot of games gained a bunch of players. As for Electricman, it was the start of a new era. The beginning of 2020 passed with nothing major happening across the board, but in the beginning of August, out of nowhere, this happened. A 58-second improvement. This was the biggest time improvement the game had ever seen. This run was the logical conclusion to the new strategies that were introduced by Daedalus. Looking over all the fights, there were really not any major mistakes. Daedalus had sharpened his strategy and executed it better throughout the entire run. He was chasing down enemies more quickly, getting more multi-hits and lining enemies up more optimally. Sure, there were some tiny mistakes he could have avoided, but not nearly as many as you could notice in his previous run. With such a big time improvement, Daedalus himself wasn't sure where to go from here either. He even jokingly had this to say at the end of the video.
Yeah, and that's about it. Thank you for watching. Yeah, and good luck on whoever won second place.
But not to worry, because we would soon see where the record would go from here. 2 months later, in October 2020, a new runner appeared on the leaderboard by the name of Freezer Globe. The time he got wasn't anything groundbreaking, but he played a very important role in the history of this game. You see, up until this point, Daedalus was pretty much just running against himself, and the game didn't really have a community just yet. Freezer had made a Discord server just to hang out and eventually decided to invite some people who were speedrunning Electricman. On the 6th of December, a runner by the name of Rank submitted his first speedrun to the Electricman leaderboards. In the description he wrote, "This is my first ever speedrun, I'll try to improve. I'm aware this one looks really sloppy." Rank reached out to Freezer to ask him if he was going to speedrun Electricman again, because he saw that he had recently submitted a run to the leaderboards. Freezer was open to the idea of speedrunning the game some more, which eventually led him to inviting Rank to his Discord server. And on the 21st of December 2020, Freezer Globe made a Discord channel that would change Electricman speedrunning forever. This was the start of the Electricman speedrunning channel. Around this time, Daedalus also reached out to Rank, and as he was looking for some more active runners in the game as well. He asked Rank what his plan was for Electricman, and Rank responded with, "Well, try to improve my time and potentially contest for a world record, but it seems a bit hard. 11:37 is crazy fast." Daedalus responded with saying that he didn't even know what the best potential time would be, and that he thought sub 12 wouldn't even be possible when he started. Rank then responded with saying, "I believe sub 10 is possible even." Nice foreshadowing there. This all eventually led to Daedalus also joining the Discord and the game getting way more active. At this point, Rank had already improved his time to a 12:37, which was still a full minute away from Daedalus, but he was making rapid improvement after running the game for only 2 weeks now. The reason for his improvement was simple. In his own words, "I just watched Daedalus's run and thought, oh, I should do things similar to him." And it was clearly working because 2 days later, on Christmas Day 2020, Rank improved his time to a 12:03. 2020 ended, and in January 2021, another new player joined the rapidly changing Electricman leaderboards. It's Zix. Zix came in with a time of 14:35 and was also quickly improving his times. On January 13th, Zix improved his own time twice with massive time save. First at 13:35 and then at 13:10. January 19th he got a 12:40, and on January 20th he got a 12:23. Then on January 24th a 12:05 by Zix and a time of 11:39 by Rank, not only getting a sub 12 time but now also only being 2 seconds away from the world record.
So close, what the fuck, man? Man, sucks. So many so many cringe time losses too, man.
Until the start of the decade, Daedalus was uncontested in his world records, but it was starting to seem inevitable that his records were going to be beaten. And with Zix achieving the third sub 12 on January 28th, beating Daedalus felt more possible than ever.
Oh, let's go.
To give some context for the next part, we firstly need to take a look at the other leaderboards. Up until this point, we've only been looking at the easy category, but while that was going down, the competition in normal and pro also began forming. The leaderboards of all difficulties had started to get more runners, but for the most part, Daedalus remained on top of the leaderboards in all categories. However, on the 20th of January, Rank, Zix and Daedalus were all doing runs on call, and well, I'll just let Rank explain it from here.
So it was the night of the 20th of January 2021. Me, Daedalus, Zix and Freezer were on a call on Discord, and we were watching Daedalus play Electricman. He was streaming it for us. Around that time is where he got his 13:32. He made a 25-second improvement on his world record in pro. So we watched him get that world record live pretty early on. Like he didn't do many runs and he got it pretty quickly, and it was a massive improvement. So that was really impressive for us.
No freaking way, dude. No freaking way. That's a gold too.
Yo.
What the frick, man? Why?
It actually happened.
Yeah, 13:32.
You managed to get 25 seconds.
What the frick?
It's the power of the VC, man.
It's power. Yeah, it's power of
the
VC. It's to take my mind off of the intensity, I guess. Holy crap.
And so he decided to run normal after that. So he begins his run in normal, and I thought, well, after watching him play and get a world record, I kind of want to play too. So I decided to open up the game and start recording and playing the game myself. It's literally the first run that I made in normal, because you can see on the time split that it says 1. It's literally the first run that I'm doing in normal. My splits are empty and I'm just comparing against the world record, which was the 13:01 that he had gotten on a few months ago. And so we're basically trying to break sub 13 in normal. I'm like barely even talking. My mic was also very low for some reason, but I'm barely even talking. I'm just locked into the run. It's nothing special. The RNG is not really that great, and I'm also not playing great, but I'm playing like decent if you take into account the information that we had back then. So I'm like playing a bit of a decent run, but it's nothing special. And on the background, I'm hearing that Daedalus is like gaining time. I'm not watching his run, but he's saying things like he's 15 seconds ahead and he has time to gain on tech team or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, he's gonna get basically back-to-back world records while I'm here trying to get a good time in normal. So that's, the way it's gonna be, the way it's always has been. But suddenly it comes into round 4 and I get a massive gold. Like I went from like 30 seconds behind to being 7 seconds ahead or something. And I'm like, whoa, okay, so I have the potential to sub 13. The problem is that Daedalus is in a run that is on pace to get sub 13 himself. And so we keep on running. I'm fighting against tech team, and I hear that Daedalus and Zix start to pop off. They're like, oh my god, no freaking way, man, or whatever.
I think I did it.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh! No freaking way, dude. That's No freaking way.
If you didn't do the cartwheel at the end, it would have been much less close.
Yeah, it would have been. It's probably still would have been a 59.
Yo, but will you have to retime that? Yeah.
I'm gonna have to retime that.
And so I knew he had gotten a world record, and it was most likely a sub 13. So I was like, okay, he's got a world record, but I'm on pace to beating his 1301. So like, if I close out this run, it could be a situation in which I beat the 1301 and it's still not a world record because just seconds before me, he got a world record of his own that's better than mine. I go into death, I beat him, I stop the clock, and it's 12:58, a high 12:58. The first question that I ask after I stop the clock is like, what time did you get? Because there's no way that I got sub 13 and it's not gonna be world record just because he was running before me. No way, what time did you get?
12:59.
12:59.
Look at stream. Look at stream. 12:59.94.
Can I share a screen? There's
What?
no way.
What is it?
There's no way. There's no way.
So really, time should have stopped
Wait.
at 12:59.
We are going
0.77.
to have to frame this. We have to
Oh
frame
my
it.
god.
We have to
Oh my
frame
god.
count.
I'm doing that right now.
Wait.
No,
that
but
was
Deadless,
the fir-
did
the
you
very
did
first
Deadless,
room I ran.
did you see Rank's screen share?
No.
Look at it.
And he says he got a high 12:59, and I'm like, we're gonna have to retime this or whatever because it was like so close. But no, it wasn't close. I actually beat him. I beat Deadless for 1 second, and it was crazy. It was like the first time in almost 2 years that someone not named Deadless held a world record in a full run of the game, which was crazy. It's something that obviously is very special to me. It means a lot. Just running by his side in a cold with all of those people there to witness it. It was honestly insane. Yeah, finally getting to beat Deadless meant a lot, obviously. It was such a crazy night, to be honest.
Rank beat Daedalus for the first time in a long while. However, Daedalus got his record back only 3 days later. But maybe this record was just the motivation that Rank needed to beat Daedalus' time in easy mode. January 2021 was by far the busiest month in Electricman speedrunning history so far, with a bunch of new runners getting personal bests and records getting set in the process. Looking at the easy leaderboards, this is what the top 5 was looking like at the beginning of February 2021. After a month of a bunch of active runners all getting closer to beating the record, who was going to be the one to beat Daedalus' easy record? Maybe it was Zix, who had been massively improving his own times over the past month. Or was it going to be Rank, who had just set a record in normal mode, proving that Daedalus' times had considerable improvement left? And well, we wouldn't find out for quite some time, because for the next couple of months none of these runners got close to the world record or even a personal best. The Discord got a lot less active than before, and there wasn't anyone actively going for speedrun attempts. Rank did some easy runs every now and then, but didn't really get any good runs going. About 6 months go by and we end up in July 2021. The leaderboard hasn't shifted in a while and the huge spike in runs died down a bit. With July starting, the game started to gain a bit of activity again. Zix started running again and Rank was starting to get back at it too. On July 13th, Rank started up some easy runs. He realized while playing that the record was breakable by a wide margin. The run just had to have the proper RNG. And it wouldn't take long until he had his best chance at the record yet. Rank had done it. More than 2 years after Daedalus got his first world record in 2019, and 11 months later after the previous record, Rank had beaten his time by 4 seconds. Looking at this run, you wouldn't think much of it, and with the splits Rank was getting, there would be a good argument to just reset and try again. But with Electricman being such an unpredictable game when it comes to RNG, Rank continued the run, even being 18 seconds behind his own PB, and it turned out to all be worth it, with him then saving all those 18 seconds in the semi-finals. Finishing it off with a decent death fight of 32 seconds made him beat the record by 4 seconds. This run was the result of the most active period of competition Electricman speedrunning had seen, and was just a glimpse of the next records. While the record was broken, attempts to break it again by Rank and the other runners continued. Only 4 days later, Rank actually tied his own world record with another 11:33 during a 100% run.
Just die, please, just die. It's gonna be really close, dude. I don't know. That was really f***ing close. Ah, shit. That was really f***ing close. I don't know. That could have been record for a few milliseconds, to be honest.
Daedalus obviously saw his record get beaten and was motivated to run the game again. So he started up some easy attempts a day later. It seemed that all he needed was some competition. Because, well, on only the 9th attempt, while listening to Pink Floyd, this happened.
Let's go! Oh my gosh! Let's go! Let's freaking go! 11:27, holy crap. And this run sucked too, man. This is not in disrespect to Rank. I've tried, and I couldn't beat the 11:37, I just needed some motivation, you know?
Daedalus had reclaimed the record 5 days after Rank had set his time, and he did it in only 9 attempts. This run was probably the first record that put all the focus on keeping all the enemies in front of the player. Daedalus was consistently not letting the enemies split up so he could get more multi-hits. The biggest roadblock in the run was getting crossed up by the enemies, especially the pyromaniacs, with them being as fast as they are. In some of these cases, Daedalus would cartwheel to get in front of the enemy again without getting hit, avoiding getting knocked to the ground. As you could probably hear from his commentary, Daedalus didn't think this run was that great.
And this run sucked too, man.
And probably thought he could easily get better lineups and luck. After all, this record only took him 9 attempts after Rank got his record. So clearly he wasn't finished just yet, with him saying, the race to sub 11 is on. Runs continued for a while, mostly in the other categories, with Ziggs getting within 5 seconds of the normal record and Rank doing the same thing in pro mode. But even there, Daedalus didn't pass his crown in any of these categories. However, the race to sub 11 was still on, and Daedalus was in the lead. He'd still been running the game pretty actively around this time and was now more motivated than ever to improve his time. Ziggs, Rank and Daedalus were doing runs and races and calls for every category on the board. On the 13th of August 2021, Daedalus got a crazy improvement to his 100% record by beating it with over a full minute of time saved in Pro alone, also breaking that category's record in the process. On the exact same day, he got on an easy run that didn't seem to be anything special. Daedalus was 7 seconds ahead going into round 2, but he then lost a total of 14 seconds that round, putting him 7 seconds behind his record. But Daedalus reluctantly continued the run.
Oh, this run's not good at all. Yeah, this run's trash.
He decided to continue the run anyway, aiming to at least get a decent PB. Round 3 was pretty average, but over the next few fights he would make up the time he'd lost in round 2 and 3, and with a great round 4 he was just slightly ahead going into the semi-finals.
Wow. Holy cow. No way, dude. No freaking way. Let's go, man.
That's the closest you're gonna get.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
What was
11:05? Are you kidding me? Why can't
Dude.
Oh my gosh, dude. Why can't I just...
Weren't you looking at the time?
What?
You weren't looking at the time, right?
I was
You weren't
looking at the time. I didn't think I'd get that close. I thought it was
30
gonna...
seconds there? What?
That's actually... The thing is, I could do this 5 seconds faster, because a 25 has been done before.
Yeah, but come on, dude.
An absolutely insane improvement of 21 seconds. The sub 11 seemed closer than ever. Daedalus' final goal before starting school again was breaking that 11-minute barrier. But unfortunately, this is where Daedalus' story ends, because over the next few months, most of their active runners slowly stopped running the game, and eventually the leaderboards had no competition left. School was starting again and most people lost motivation to grind out the stickman fighting game. Daedalus decided it was time to leave getting the sub 11 up to someone else right now. And so, that's where his story ended. Who would be the person up for the challenge? Who was gonna break the barrier that seemed so close for so long? Well, 2021 ended and a new year started with new potential. And we didn't have to wait long until a new runner appeared on the leaderboards. And that runner's name was FG Falcon. Falcon didn't really get into speedrunning until he saw his friend Jojo run Super Mario 64. They hung out a lot, and from watching Jojo play he got increasingly more interested in speedrunning. His interest in speedrunning started when him and Jojo hung out to play Super Mario Maker 2 together and tried to get as many records as they could on random levels. In late 2021 he ran 16 star in Super Mario 64 for a few months, but besides that Electricman was the first game he actually ran. He basically just thought it'd be interesting to try running the funny stickman fighting game he used to play as a kid, thinking he could get an easy record, and with the expectation of just grabbing a quick world record and then moving on with his life, he did a run. But when he went over to the game's leaderboards, he found out that he was completely wrong and he was actually 6 minutes off the actual record. The first run Falcon submitted to the leaderboards was a 16:37 in normal mode on the 17th of January 2022. This run wasn't anything special, but what was special is that on that day, Falcon submitted 3 more runs that were all improvements on his time. A 15:30, a 14:57 and then a 14:36, all on the same day. These runs already showcased a great understanding on the gameplay, with Falcon trying to keep the enemies in the corner as much as possible. Obviously this run was very rough around the edges with an especially slow death fight, but keep in mind that this was just his first day of running the game. The next day he started normal runs again and beat his own time again with a 13:57. The other runners started to see Falcon climb up the leaderboard extremely quickly and noticed something interesting about his runs. After the screen fades to black when you're done with a fight, what runners used to do is just click on the 2 continue buttons and then click on the next fight. But with the strategy that Falcon was using, there wasn't any need to move your mouse in the menus. Pressing tab highlights clickable things on screen, and if you press enter afterwards, you click the highlighted button. So theoretically, tab menuing could save about 6 seconds over the entire run in all categories, by removing the need to move the mouse between menus. And with some practice, Falcon could do it faster after every single fight. On the 19th of January, he beat his time twice again, resulting in a 13:37 in normal, now being less than a minute away from the record. The next day, the other runners decided to invite Falcon over to the Discord, and so he joined. Falcon also invited his friend Jojo to the server, who is apparently also grinding Electricman runs. Unlike Falcon, Jojo had already been speedrunning for a long time, with his first submitted run dating all the way back to 2017. Speedrunning had always been a big thing for Jojo, and he's still active in the SM64 community, going to events like GDQ, RTA in Japan, and even doing commentary for ESA.
The first
Hey dude, done with this segment, and we're swapping in a legendary runner here. Please, everybody give it up for Cheezo5 for the next segment.
Running Electricman alongside Falcon would motivate them both to continue seeking improvement of their times. This was the start of a massive change in Electricman speedrunning, because Falcon was dedicated. On the 22nd of January, he started a session of about 12 hours of playing the game. This was just in normal mode, and he hadn't yet touched any of the other categories. He improved his time again to a 13:22, except apparently his recording software crashed. But not to worry, because most likely he'll just get another PB soon. And not even 30 minutes later he got a 12:56, getting a sub 13 and putting him third on the normal leaderboards. At around the end of his insane session he got a time of 12:46, now only being 6 seconds behind first place, after only around a week of running the game. It wouldn't take long before he beat Daedalus' time. It was around this time that Jojo was also putting in massive amounts of attempts on the normal record, with him submitting both a 13:45 and a 13:07 on the 23rd. They were grinding out the game for hours on end, motivating each other to keep improving their times. So, who was gonna be the one who would come out on top? Well, on the 24th, Jojo had a run going that was on pace to beat the record by at least 10 seconds going into the semi-finals as tag team. He bled some time there, but the record was still doable. Unfortunately for him, the death fight didn't go as well as he planned, and he ended up with a 13:02. And with that in mind, Falcon started up runs on his own. He was feeling tired and wasn't planning on doing a long session of attempts, so he wasn't expecting anything crazy to happen. But to his surprise, on the first run that he did, this happened. was a new world record and it beat Daedalus's time by 2 whole seconds. But this was only the beginning, because the next day, JoJo got on this run.
Let's f***ing go! It's over! Let's go! World record, baby! Big fella! Big mother fella! On the f***ing boards, baby! Right on f***ing top! Right on top!
And just 3 days later, Falcon got it back again with a 12:26.
No way.
It's f***ing over, dude. Yes!
Oh yeah,
yes! Go.
While Falcon and JoJo were on their streak of records, they made another new addition to their runs. A new strategy to take down enemies who would dodge slow kicks was to punch and then grab the enemy with D. Falcon was starting to use this throughout his runs, most prominently in the death fight. Now this was pretty great and all, and Falcon seemed happy with his newly acquired record. But remember, this is the story of the easy record. Falcon and JoJo hadn't done a lot of runs in easy yet, so it was time for them to move to the other categories. Falcon had already done some easy runs and was already third on the leaderboard with a time of 11:43, still being 38 seconds behind the record. But now he had a lot more experience running the game, so with some new strats, more skill and more knowledge on enemy movement, he started doing some easy runs. And with the amount of attempts Falcon was putting in, it was inevitable that the record was going to be beaten soon. On the 29th of January, Falcon started some attempts again, but this time it was easy mode only. Very quickly he saw an improvement of his PB by 11 seconds with an 11:32, putting him in second place. The time save in this run jumped all over the place, from saving 13 seconds in 2 fights to immediately losing more than 20 seconds in Pyromaniac 2. If he could just put together a more consistent run, he would be able to break through the barrier that Daedalus had set. And that's exactly what he did. On January 29th, 2022, Falcon started up another one of his attempts on easy mode. He started the run with a subpar round 1 time of 1 minute and 50 seconds, but a time loss like this could easily be made up for in the following rounds. The same thing happened in round 2, where he was behind his PB by around 12 seconds. Then round 3 went pretty decently, with him gaining back his lost time from the previous rounds and even gaining about 5 seconds on his PB. The run was looking slightly more promising, and now Falcon had a good chance to PB. But then everything changed in the 4th round, where this run went from a decent one to an, in Falcon's own words, once in a lifetime run. Falcon entered the final fight being almost a full minute ahead of his previous time. If he wanted to get the world record, he didn't need a great death fight, just enough to beat the 11:05.
Oh my god.
What'd you do?
Yes!
Oh,
no way!
What the f***?
Oh my god!
Holy shit, dude!
What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?
Let's go.
What the fuck, dude?
Let's go.
What did I just do?
Guild category.
What did I just do? Oh my god!
Guild category, dude.
Oh my god!
Let's fucking go.
The coveted sub 11!
And just like that, only 12 days after he submitted his first run, Falcon had beat the record and achieved the first ever sub 11 in easy mode. The people in the community were as shocked as they were excited, and of course, Falcon was as well. He couldn't quite believe it, and looking at this run, it was very understandable that he felt this way. Soon afterwards, they began theorizing about the best possible time you could get. While all individual levels combined would easily be a sub 10 time, the question was, is it possible in a single segment? After getting all but one record, Falcon and JoJo decided to go for the last remaining one too, which was 100%, and after a very long, 1 entire day of grinding, Falcon beat the record. Oh, and then JoJo beat the record 45 minutes later. They were quite literally unstoppable. After conquering every category on the boards, except the one which shall not be named, things quieted down for a bit. Falcon and Jojo both took a break to do other things, and nobody really contended for the record. It would take another 2 months for something to happen. In those 2 months, Jojo and Falcon played a bit less than they were doing before that, but Falcon had shattered the record in normal, and on April 17th he got a run that would place him 46 seconds ahead of second place. On the same day, Jojo got a time of 11:06 in easy mode, almost being the second person to beat Daedalus. He kept doing attempts and increasing his playtime every day, trying to get the world record. In the past, these records had been on some runs that didn't seem all that special, but with some luck in the later rounds, a bad start could easily be made up. Now that we were entering the sub-11 territory, it was getting harder and harder to rely on a bit of good luck in the last fights. Even with that in mind, Jojo kept going. And 3 days later, on April 20th, 2022, after hundreds of attempts, he got on this run. But unfortunately, he didn't record it. After running against Falcon for the past 4 months, he finally got the record. But he forgot to record it. Even though this was a huge blow to his morale, Jojo didn't give up. He kept on playing for a verifiable record, and he then spent the next 10 hours trying to get it. And after a grueling 12 hours of grinding the game, he then got on this run.
No way. Dodging. Well, that's recorded record. I've grinded for 14 hours. I'm feeling nothing for this. The first 2 hours of my grind, I got a 10:53 and I forgot to press record. Then over the course of 8 hours, I've gotten like 9, at least 9, low 11 times. And now, at fucking, let me check, at 11:15. At 11:15, finally, I get a recorded easy record. Here it is, in its full glory, dude. What a weird run. But here it is. Thank you.
Even though he wasn't able to beat his previous time, he was finally able to actually beat the record. With split times that were looking weirdly similar to his unrecorded record, he beat Falcon's record by 2 seconds, and this time he didn't forget to record it. This was a record that was long overdue. After this, the leaderboards went quiet again, this time for a longer period of time. For one reason or another, Falcon didn't really try to reclaim his record for the rest of the year, and Jojo seemed satisfied with the record he was currently holding. 2022 continued without anyone beating the standing record. In August, Falcon did start up attempts again, but let's just say it didn't go exactly as planned. He did manage to get his sum of best to a time under 9 minutes in easy mode. Getting luck like that was sadly not possible, unless you dream, but it still showed potential. Months went by with no new records in any of the categories. During this time, Falcon kept on trying to beat Jojo's time in easy, and his own times in the other modes. Rank also came back to run the game again for a bit, and even got a new PB in normal mode. But nobody seemed to be able to squeeze out a new record. So we end up in 2023, getting closer and closer to current day. Falcon wanted to get a new record, and not only that, but a time in the 10:30s. After being on pace for it in his previous record, the time allured him. So in February, he decided to push for the record again. Having not PB'd in a year, it was time to get back to the game. On the 20th of February, he set out to get a 10-3x, after he just came back from an intense grind in Vex. And on that same day, he was finally able to break through.
Ooh! Damn! It's not a 4x, but I don't care, dude. Let's go. Ooh.
Only one day into his journey to a 10-3x, he already reclaimed his record. The next day, on February 21st, 2023, he got on pace to beat his time again into death, but then sadly died in the fight. He then got on another run that died to a slow death fight, and he then ended the day with a run that had a time of 10:56, just barely missing out on the record. He kept trying, putting in hours of attempts almost every day for the rest of February, but he just couldn't get the RNG he needed. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, Jojo returned with a time of 10:51, just barely missing out on the record by about 0.5 seconds. But meanwhile, Falcon didn't show any signs of slowing down his attempts, just waiting to hit the RNG jackpot. And it all led up to the one day where everything changed.
What the fuck did I just close out? Dude, I actually, oh my god, what the fuck just happened? Still a fucking crazy run. Just absolutely nuts. So now I'm gonna have to be so aggressive with my resets. It's gonna start turning into Minecraft speedrunning now. It's like anytime I get a run that's not even close to being good, just reset, you know? Only do that when all 4 hits register. So what you can do afterwards is you can do another attack. It's like, holy shit, this one's good. Wait, dude, I gotta stop talking. There's no fucking way, dude. So big. You're joking, right? You're joking. This isn't actually happening. It's no words. No words. I've got no fucking words. I've got nothing to say. That's what it's all about, dude. You know, it's not quite a sub 1030, but I just got a fucking 1030 in Electricman easy mode.
And just like that, Falcon had not only met his goal of getting a 10-3x, but almost getting a sub 1030 time, beating his own time twice by a wide margin on the same day. The community was shocked. Falcon was speechless. He couldn't believe it. Looking at his run, it seemed unlikely he could string together a run that would save more than 10 seconds on this time. With Falcon getting a perfect right side spawn in 3 out of the 5 final battles. Even still, Falcon believed that a sub 10 could one day be possible, but it wasn't yet time for it. And so activity stopped for a while again, until about 6 months later. And after getting the first sub 13 promo time in August, and then a new normal record in November, the easy record still seemed far removed from the rest of the categories. While he was breaking every record in the game, Falcon would track his times in a pace sheet to see what a more realistic best possible time would be in each category. And after some more failed record attempts, he sent a screenshot of the sheet. There were a couple of interesting things to note about this spreadsheet. Firstly, he and Jojo now had collectively achieved 21 times under 11 minutes, from which 17 were Falcon's times. And secondly, if you were to add the best beginning time to the best ending time, it would only equate to a time of 10 minutes and 14 seconds. The stars would have to align to get a run like or close to that. Even with that knowledge, talk about the possible sub 10 would continue, and Jojo and Falcon were convinced that it had to be possible. It would just take a several month long grind to make it happen. And so Falcon continued doing attempt sessions. It had already been about 9 months since his last record, but it felt especially difficult to break through that 10:30 barrier. However, Falcon knew he could pull off at least a time of 10:2x, and so in December he got another chance.
I really thought that guy was gonna move at the very least. Actually, a decent blind. It's just... I have to double gold. I mean, if I double gold... Wait, holy shit. Holy f***. There's no chance. There's no shot. There's no fucking shot. There's no fucking shot. No way I did it on this run. Oh! No fucking way! Dude, how is this the fucking run that I PB? How is it this? Dude! I was just so not expecting that. What the hell? That's a sub 2 end. That's a sub 2 end, dude. That's like, that feels like a really good PB to clutch out, man. Because this run was just like not good for so long. Dude, keep in mind, I have had a run like that. This was plus 14 out of round 4.
That's what I'm saying, dog. Sub 10 is real.
Yeah.
You just gotta roll it.
There seemed to be no stop to Falcon's reign, and on December 15th, Falcon made his spreadsheet public, and with it came some interesting insights. Falcon was using this sheet to track all the best segment times in every game mode, and when adding these segments together, it would result in a time of well under 10 minutes. And so, Falcon had more motivation than ever. He was going to continue pushing the record as much as he could. Since he'd been out of competition for a while now, the possibility of a sub 10 run was motivating. Sure, there was no telling how long it would take, and he was still about half a minute off the time, but now it actually seemed possible. And with a new and ambitious goal, he put his focus on easy mode. And what followed was one of the greatest months in Electricman history.
Alright, please don't lose too much here. Not best pace ever, but it's pretty fucking good, man. Yeah, I'm in pretty big trouble. Yeah, no, it's just dead. It's just... No, it's not. Holy f***. 935. 935. It's not 1x. I'm fucking nuts. I'm fucking nuts, dude. I'm fucking nuts at the game. I'm just too good. I'm just too fucking good. And that wasn't, man, that was not even a good death fight. That was not a good death fight, actually. That was like a 47. This is a fucking joke. This is like actually a fucking joke. This is not happening. There's zero chance. Like, there's zero chance this finishes. There's genuinely zero chance. That's so rough. Are you kidding?
1. Fucking great.
And 12. What the Holy sh**. That's a good run. Holy sh**, that's a good run. No, but I'm actually flabbergasted. That was a good death. I rolled a good death on pace? You're joking. That's never happened before in my life. Okay, all seriousness. Cool, but like, at this point, I think the only thing that can feel amazing is a sub 10, right? Like, I've already been on pace.
In less than a single month, Falcon pushed the time down from a 10:30 to a 10:12, getting ever closer to that sub 10 mark. But for now, Falcon was taking a break, at least until Jojo came back to do attempts. In the meantime, the leaderboard got a little bit more crowded, and some OG runners like Ziggs and Ranks also came back for a bit. With these runners returning and new runners emerging, Jojo came up with a plan. He proposed an idea to introduce an event where players would compete to beat their own personal times for points, maybe even with a prize involved. And the community seemed to like the idea. Jojo explained that the point of the event was for people to specifically beat their own times. The winner would be decided not by the runner that got the best time, but the runner who improved their own time the most. So when Jojo got back home on March 12th, where he started running the game again, he also started to work on a point system for the event. But before Jojo even got the chance to announce the event, Falcon got on this run.
Holy. What if it is, though? What if it is, though? It's not enough. So close, man. It's so close. It's so close. It's so close, man. Oh my god, and that death fight sucked too, man. Oh my god. Oh my god.
This time was the first real chance anyone had at sub 10, with Falcon entering the death fight at 9:20. He would have to get an amazing time in the death fight to secure the sub 10, but sadly this is where the RNG of Electricman really started to show itself. With death being the most RNG based fight in the run, he unfortunately rolled a subpar fight of 38 seconds. Now is the time to talk about maybe the most important aspect of the game that I've basically skipped over until now. RNG. You're probably already familiar with this term, but if you're not, I'll explain it really quickly. RNG, or random number generator, is basically just a way of describing luck in games. I've loosely mentioned luck being a big factor throughout the video, but not the true extent to which it matters in this run. The main roadblock in achieving the sub 10 or a better time in general is just RNG having to be on your side. The way enemies behave is completely random in every fight and is totally out of your control. I explained at the beginning that another thing to note is that the enemies have a 50-50 chance of spawning on either side of the map. A perfect scenario would be if all the enemies spawn on the side you started at. This is called a perfect spawn. The luck required increases with a factor of 2 every time the number of enemies increases. But unfortunately, that's not all that's important during the run. A user called Vexter actually created a mod that always spawns you on the right side of the map to see how big of a difference it would make. And when Falcon tried the mod, he got a time of 9:37 on his first try. So even if you get good spawn luck, you still need to hope the enemies give you a good pattern. And then you'd still need to perform well enough to make use of that luck. Besides that, there's also some fun bugs that are pretty common to encounter, such as enemies running into walls and knocking themselves down without taking damage, health bars disappearing before enemies are actually dead, fake grabs. The game can apparently even crash.
Oh, come on. The game just closed. What?
And sometimes you just get beat up.
He dodged the grab. Oh my.
Anyway, that's basically the gist of what Falcon was playing against, a barrier of RNG. 6 days after Falcon set the first 10:0x time, Jojo made an announcement, setting up the first edition of the Electricman Pace League. Running from March 23rd to May 11th, any PBs gotten during that time would count towards points in the league, with some algorithms set up to calculate the points. It was pretty cool seeing an event like this get set up for Electricman, but the question was, would this be enough motivation to achieve a sub 10? Well, we were about to find out. It was time for the push to sub 10.
gotta be the worst death ever on that pace, of course. 10:24, new PB.
That's actually f***ing scary. I'm not f***ing stopping this grind now, and I will not have this sub 10 snipe for me.
Ah, he's alive! I didn't notice. Oh my god. Are you fucking kidding me? I thought he was dead, dude. The perfect spawn after that? What the hell? Did you see that?
I saw it. It's still PB. It's still 1x.
What the hell? What the fuck?
Dude, I tried. All I need is a fucking 43. That's all I need. That's all I need. I'm dead. No, dude. I think I threw it. Oh my god, man. Dude. Did I fuck it up? I don't know, man. I don't know.
Abysmal death fight ever. I was shook, dude. Oh my fucking god. I choked it.
No, dude. I just grabbed. You gotta be shitting me. You gotta be shitting me! Oh my god! Just give it to me, man! Oh my god, the grab! No, dude, no. If I didn't go for the W kick on tech team. No, dude, no, man!
Attempt after attempt, Falcon just couldn't get it, and not for a lack of trying. He was putting in 10-hour sessions every single day just to get the sub 10, but it just didn't happen. He kept filling up the spreadsheet with times that could have been the run, however the pieces just didn't fall into place. But Falcon pushed through. He kept trying even after all these demoralizing failures, and when the time came, on April 20th, 2024, this happened.
my god.
Oh! Oh my god! Yes! Yes! Oh! What?
Oh my god! Oh my god! It's fucking over, man. I hit the death fight. I got the fucking death fight. This brought me to the brink, man. Like, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit like... I just had a lot of adrenaline there, but dude, this pushed me to the fucking brink, man. I have been grinding for 3 weeks, non-stop, every day. Almost every goddamn waking breath has been spent playing Electricman. Let me just tell you guys a story, okay? The game showed me its hand back in fucking December. The game showed me its hand. It gave me a sub 10 pace into endgame. It was about as fast as the run I just got. And that was at the end of December, back when I still had a 1022. Now, that run got absolutely rolled. I ended up getting a 1020, which was still record then, but I knew what had just transpired, and I was not happy about it. So, from that moment onwards, the only thing that I had in my mind was the sub 10, the legendary sub 10. And I could not get close to that pace for such a while. I just could not match it. Then JoJo comes back. By this time I have 1012. I grind it down, I get a 1009. Then he starts playing. He gets a bunch of good times really quickly. And I start sweating really bad because when he got a 1006, that really lit the fire under my ass to start grinding for sub 10 because I did not want to be sniped. There were so many runs lost, man. Oh my lord, it was soul crushing. I got that 1001 like 2 weeks ago, and I just got stuck. I got stuck so hard, man. It was excruciating. Like, there were days where I was grinding the game where I'd been grinding for like 8 hours, and I felt like physically exhausted. But I wanted the fucking run so badly. I just had to keep going. I could not be sniped. This really pushed me to the brink. I think I'm fucking done with speedrunning for a while now, dude. This was definitely something. Like, just to give you an idea of how ridiculous this was, 3 weeks ago, when I started this grind, I had 3,000 attempts. 3,300 roundabouts. 3 weeks ago. I now have 12,154. That was my lucky number. 12,154. I cannot believe that it's over, man. I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. I'm so happy. I'm so fucking happy.
A 9:59. It couldn't have been much closer. He had finally done it. The legendary sub 10 time he'd been working so hard to get. Following this record, Falcon would go on to destroy every single main category record and their respective minute barriers. But unfortunately, some other guy won the league with more improvement points. The easy mode record remained at 9:59 for the rest of 2024. However, this is actually not where the record stands to this day. Falcon ended up beating his own record in January this year with a 9:56.
Holy fuck! Dude, no way!
This might be the end of this story, but definitely not the end of Electricman speedrunning. With enough luck, the time could probably go down a lot more, and even a sub 950 time is possible. Okay, so I wrote this in the script a long time ago, but Falcon actually broke his record twice again and got a 947. I took so long on the video that he actually got a sub 950 like 2 months ago now.
G.
Yes!
Falcon himself said that a 9.3x time is theoretically possible, and the absolute lowest that could happen would be a time in the 9.2x range. If a good player gets amazing luck, who knows the time they're able to get. The journey to a sub 10 was a long one, but as with every game, the time will be beaten in the future, again and again. We're simply in the midst of the journey. Thank you for watching. Thanks a lot for watching the video entirely through. If you're still watching and you enjoyed it even slightly, I'd appreciate it if you left a comment under the video letting me know your thoughts. Anyways, this took a lot longer than I wanted it to take, but I'm satisfied with how it turned out, and I'm looking to do more projects like this in the future, so be on the lookout for that. And that's about all I wanted to say. I hope you have a great day.